Celine Dion, a global icon whose heart-wrenching ballads have defined entire eras of music, by all accounts, should have been dead by now. If the headlines and rumors were to be believed, the unimaginable tragedies she's endured, the heartbreak that nearly shattered her spirit, and the onset of a rare neurological disorder would have ended her journey long ago. Yet here she stands, very much alive, still inspiring millions of fans around the globe with her voice, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. What you're about to discover goes far beyond the gossip and sensational news stories. We'll delve deep into the extraordinary series of challenges she's faced from a young age, explore the relentless battles that could have silenced her forever, and uncover the miraculous ways in which she has managed to overcome them all. By the end, you won't just learn about Celine Dion's struggles. You'll learn why her story resonates so profoundly with fans worldwide, and why her triumphant presence is a testament to the human spirit. So stay with us, because the real truth behind her life, her loves, her losses, and her still unfolding journey will leave you with more hope and wonder than you ever imagined. Imagine, for a moment, a cramped yet lively household in Charlemagne, Quebec, Canada, where music is the heartbeat of every family gathering and the sweet sound of singing children fills the air. In that home, the youngest of 14 siblings found her voice. A voice so pure, so resonant, that she could captivate people with just a few musical notes. Her name was Celine Marie Claudette Dion. Born on March 30th, 1968, she had a love for singing that outweighed every other interest in her life, even from the time she was barely tall enough to stand on a stool and reach a microphone. Her parents, Therese and Edhemer, were neither rich nor famous. They were hardworking, family-oriented people who bonded over their mutual adoration of music. Money was often tight, but what they lacked in financial stability, they made up for with warmth, community, and an unwavering faith in one another. Celine's parents were known for their small piano bar, a place where neighbors and friends would gather to share stories, laughter, and the occasional sing-along. It was here that Celine performed for the first time in front of an audience. Picture a tiny girl with an impossibly big voice, singing with a disarming sincerity that left even the casual patrons wide-eyed and emotional. The energy in the room would shift the moment she opened her mouth. Soon, word spread through the community that Therese and Edhemer's youngest daughter possessed a special gift, something that set her apart even in a talented family where almost everyone could sing or play an instrument. As she grew into her preteen years, the notion of a music career became more than just a dream. Recording a demo track at such a tender age was unheard of, especially for a young girl from humble beginnings in rural Quebec. Nonetheless, armed with a home-recorded cassette and an enormous amount of youthful optimism, Celine's family sent her demo to a music manager in Montreal, René Angelot. The story of how René listened to Celine's recorded song and was moved to tears has been recounted so many times. It risks sounding like a cliché, but for him, it was a life-altering moment. He heard not just potential or raw talent. He heard a voice that he believed could eventually stand side by side with the greatest vocalists of all time. René took a colossal gamble by mortgaging his own house to finance Celine's first album, a decision that, in the eyes of many, was downright reckless. After all, she was just a young adolescent, singing in French, with no guarantee that her music would break into a wider market. But René had faith in something intangible and rare, the kind of voice that could bring people to tears, bridge cultural divides, and make a lasting mark on the world. For Celine, the sense of being championed so wholeheartedly by a respected industry professional was a powerful moment of validation. It gave her a sense of possibility, that the dream she'd nurtured since she was 5 years old might actually become her life's calling. By her mid-teens, Celine was already recording music professionally, releasing French-language albums that found an enthusiastic audience in Quebec and France. Critics praised the emotional clarity and technical prowess of her performances, remarking on the startling maturity in her voice. But even as her French-language career took off, there were whispers of a future beyond the francophone market. René saw an opportunity for global stardom, a transition that would require Celine to reinvent herself, learn fluent English, and compete with the biggest names in the pop music industry. This was not a simple task. She had to juggle language classes, vocal training, and the expectations of a French-speaking fanbase that already adored her. Yet she pressed on, buoyed by her own determination and René's unwavering guidance. Celine's breakthrough on the international stage came with stunning speed. One of her most notable early triumphs was the Eurovision Song Contest in 1988, where she represented Switzerland. This was an unconventional twist, one that put her firmly in the public eye across Europe. Her victory there sent a clear message. This young woman from a small town in Canada had a voice that could steal hearts on the largest stages in the world. Soon after, she began recording English-language albums that showcased not only her powerful vocals, but also her ability to convey raw emotion in lyrics that were not in her mother tongue. During the late 1980s and early 1990s, the music industry was rife with extraordinary voices, Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey among them, so the competition was fierce. It was precisely in this arena that Celine found her place. She was often compared to her peers, but she had a distinct quality that set her apart. A sincerity, a sort of emotional nakedness in her performances that resonated deeply with listeners. Whether she was belting out high notes or delivering a tender ballad, Celine had that rare capacity to make her audience feel every nuance. Songs like Where Does My Heart Beat Now? And her collaboration with Peabo Bryson for Disney's Beauty and the Beast started gaining massive traction. The Disney duet was a remarkable success. It earned both an Academy Award and a Grammy, boosting Celine's reputation even further into the stratosphere. Yet what the public saw was mostly the polished performances and chart-topping hits. Behind the scenes, Celine was learning how to navigate a world of intense media scrutiny, back-to-back promotional tours, and the pressure to maintain a flawless image in an industry that often devours young talent. She was in her early 20s, grappling with more than just vocal rehearsals. She was learning to exist under a spotlight that never seemed to dim. Her relationship with René evolved in tandem with her blossoming career. While they'd always shared a close professional bond, the closeness eventually became romantic. This shift, though beautiful, introduced complications because the age gap between them was significant. Nonetheless, love has its own timeline, and for Celine, the connection she felt with René was profound. He was, in many ways, her mentor, her confidant, and the person who had believed in her from the very beginning when no one else was willing to take that chance. In 1994, they married in a lavish ceremony at Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica, a moment that gripped the public imagination in both Canada and internationally. The spectacle was broadcast on TV, treating fans worldwide to a glimpse of Celine's fairy tale love story. Yet even as she glowed with happiness, murmurs and criticisms arose about the nearly 26-year age difference between the two. Some observers questioned how real this union could be, while others praised Celine for following her heart. In many interviews, Celine would later say that the negativity surrounding their relationship only strengthened their bond. They were unwavering in their commitment to one another, forging a partnership that was equal parts business and heartfelt devotion. By the mid-1990s, Celine Dion was everywhere. Her albums in English and French were breaking records, and her ballads were featured in blockbuster soundtracks. She also took on one of the defining anthems of the decade, My Heart Will Go On, the theme for the 1997 film Titanic. The song would become her signature worldwide mega-hit. Though the film itself was a cultural phenomenon, the track soared beyond even that. It dominated radio airplay, became an instant classic, and cemented Celine Dion's status as a voice for the ages. And while the world knew her songs by heart, few understood the immense sacrifices and pressures that came with that level of fame. Nights of grueling rehearsals, days of endless interviews, entire months living out of suitcases as she moved from city to city. This was her reality. In the midst of these professional heights, something else was happening in her personal life. Celine yearned for children, wanting to expand her family beyond just herself and René. After years of trying, they welcomed their first son, René Charles, in 2001 through in vitro fertilization. Celine often spoke of how desperately she had wanted to become a mother, and the joy she felt when she finally held her baby boy was indescribable. It was a bright moment that contrasted with the stressful nature of fame and relentless touring. However, Life has a way of weaving hardship into even the happiest of stories. Renee was diagnosed with throat cancer in the late 1990s, and although he initially recovered, the shadow of that illness loomed large over their life together. Cancer became a recurring battle. Over the years, Celine took multiple hiatuses to be by Renee's side. She would share heartfelt messages to her fans, explaining that while singing was her passion, her role as a wife and caregiver took precedence. That willingness to open up about her personal struggles only deepened the admiration her audience felt. She wasn't a distant superstar. She was relatable, a woman with real burdens who nonetheless stood as a pillar of strength in the face of fearsome adversity. The heartbreak reached its pinnacle in January 2016, when Renee passed away at the age of 73. Just 2 days later, Celine's brother Daniel also succumbed to cancer. In the span of a week, she lost two of the most important men in her life. The grief was staggering, and it was a loss that many people thought might mark the end of her career. After all, how could she possibly return to the spotlight with such pain in her heart? It was during this period that rumors about her health and emotional well-being began to swirl. Some tabloids even started running sensational headlines suggesting that Celine herself might be on the brink of death, claiming that the sorrow and stress were insurmountable. And yet, in a testament to her unwavering spirit, she did something that shocked even her most devoted fans. She found the strength to return to the stage. She took to her residency in Las Vegas, an ambitious and, at first, controversial move that had started years prior but had grown into one of the most successful residencies in music history. The Coliseum at Caesar's Palace became a second home to Celine, a place where fans from every corner of the world could gather to experience her voice in a more intimate setting than a typical stadium tour. Night after night, she sang from the depths of her soul, dedicating performances to her late husband and brother, inviting the audience to share in both her grief and her healing. People who attended her Vegas shows often remarked on the emotional charge in the air, how the specter of Renee lingered in every note, and how Celine seemed to gather courage from the love of the crowd. Still, life wasn't finished testing her. In late 2022, Celine released a video message that shook her fans around the globe. She announced that she had been diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, SPS, a rare and perplexing neurological disorder characterized by severe muscle rigidity and spasms. News outlets reported that this condition could be debilitating, making it difficult for her to perform in the way she had for decades. The public response was immediate, an outpouring of concern, sympathy, and, notably, gratitude for her willingness to be transparent about her struggles. Once again, rumors circulated. Some asked, "Is this the end for Celine Dion?" Others insisted that her diagnosis was dire, fueling those same sensational claims that had dogged her for years, that she was close to death or would never sing again. Behind the scenes, Celine was undergoing treatments, physical therapy, and vocal exercises tailored to her new reality. She explained that she needed to cancel or postpone scheduled concerts, acknowledging that while she hated disappointing her fans, her health was her first priority. In emotional public statements, she affirmed that every day she was fighting to rehabilitate her body, to adapt her muscles, to keep her voice. Despite the seriousness of SPS, she clung to hope, echoing a sentiment that had guided her through all of life's storms, that love, faith, and perseverance are mightier than any affliction. At this point, many people started to reflect on the seemingly endless series of trials she had faced. A difficult childhood marked by scarcity and limited resources, heartbreak and controversy surrounding her marriage, the emotional toll of worldwide fame, her husband's protracted fight against cancer, his eventual passing, and now a severe neurological condition. Surely no single individual could absorb so much pain and continue to stand tall. That's why some were compelled to make the stark pronouncement that Celine Dion should have been dead by now, as though no mere mortal could endure so many tragedies and remain intact. Yet, through every grim prognosis, she has steadfastly refused to surrender. For her longtime fans, Celine's personal trials only made them love her more. They saw in her not just a pop superstar, but a human being whose vulnerabilities mirrored their own. She became a symbol of resilience, a living testament to the idea that when life knocks you down, you can still pick yourself up. Her authenticity, seen in the tearful tributes to her late husband, in her heartfelt posts about her diagnosis, in the raw interviews where she spoke of missing Renee every single day, created an intimate bond with her supporters. In the wake of Renee's passing, the media often speculated about her romantic life. There were fleeting rumors linking her to her backup dancer Pepe Munoz, among others. While the tabloids churned out stories, Celine explained in interviews that she was focusing on her health, her children, and her career, that her heart still belonged to Renee. She didn't rule out the possibility of love in the future, but she was clear that no one could ever replace the man who had been her life partner, both on and off the stage. Rather than chase a new love story, she threw herself into her art, her family, and her mission to bring hope and comfort to others through music. Her appearances on screen have also added layers to her story. Over the years, Celine has participated in documentaries that unveiled private moments from her tours and personal life, such as Celine, Through the Eyes of the World. More recently, she took on a cameo in the 2023 film Love Again, starring Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Sam Heughan, where she played herself, a supportive, almost guardian angel-like figure dispensing love advice and contributing songs to the film's soundtrack. It was a tender, self-referential role that revealed the warmth and humor behind her public persona. For fans, seeing her on screen, poking fun at her own diva image while also serving as a guiding light for the movie's characters, was a reminder that Celine Dion, for all her global fame, remains relatable, kind-hearted, and willing to share her gifts in playful, creative ways. Even now, her story is far from over. While living with stiff person syndrome may limit certain aspects of her performances, Celine has shown an incredible ability to adapt. She continues to work with medical experts, physical trainers, and vocal coaches to maintain as much control over her body as possible. Her social media updates, though not overly frequent, offer glimpses of her tenacity, showing her practicing gentle stretches or greeting fans in moments when she feels stronger. Many specialists comment on how the psychological resilience of a patient can have a substantial impact on their quality of life when living with a chronic condition. If that's true, Celine's renowned positivity and fierce determination could very well be among her greatest assets. The thought that Celine Dion should be dead by now might make for a shocking headline. But if you look deeper, it's a testament to how many times she could have fallen and never returned. She has stood at the edge of multiple precipices, emotional, physical, professional, and each time, she's found the strength to persevere. When tabloids or social media chatter insinuate that this might be it for her, they fail to consider that Celine's entire life has been a study in defying expectations. She reinvented the possibilities for Las Vegas residencies, an achievement initially met with skepticism. She pushed through personal heartbreak and turned her pain into art. She faced health crises, personal attacks, naysayers who dismissed her style or her choice of songs, and she rose above them all. For fans worldwide, there is an almost familial protectiveness around Celine. They rally in her defense when critics berate her or spread rumors. They see her as a beacon of love and resilience in an industry often fraught with scandals, short-lived careers, and superficial glamour. They appreciate that she never sings a word she doesn't mean, and that, despite the scale of her stardom, she makes time to acknowledge individual fans, remembering names, faces, and stories shared with her during meet and greets. It's that personal touch, that sincerity, that cements the loyalty of her audience. In truth, they don't just come to hear her sing. They come to feel connected to her, to be reminded that sometimes the good guys do win. When people reflect on her life story, her father's dream, her mother's unwavering support, her siblings cheering her on from the sidelines, Renee's monumental gamble that launched her career, it becomes clear that Celine's ascent was never a solo endeavor. She had a community of believers around her from day one. Yet it's also undeniable that her own determination is what shaped her destiny. She grasped every opportunity with both hands, fueling each success with countless hours of practice, with discipline that would impress even the most seasoned professionals, and with a humility that made her quick to credit her collaborators and fans for every milestone. So where does that leave us today? Some might say she's in a battle for her life once again, grappling with a debilitating neurological syndrome that could rob her of the muscular coordination needed to sing. But those who have followed her journey closely know that this isn't the first time she stared down a seemingly insurmountable challenge. If there's anything we've learned, it's that Celine Dion is a force of nature. She may alter the way she performs. She may need to rest more, to limit her touring schedule, to adapt her stage presence. But to count her out entirely, to believe that the curtains will close and her voice will go silent forever, is to underestimate the sheer depth of her willpower and her devotion to the music that has always been her lifeblood. What remains most remarkable is how her story transcends her own personal narrative. She's become a symbol for anyone who has faced adversity, be it financial struggles, familial challenges, heartbreak, illness, or loss, and wondered if they could go on. By sharing her vulnerabilities, by openly grieving and celebrating, by continuing to connect through the universal language of music, Celine shows that it's possible to keep moving forward, to keep singing, even when the world claims you shouldn't be able to. It's understandable why many fans feel such a profound personal connection to her. They see their own stories in her trials, the desire to break free from limited circumstances, the courage to love when the world disapproves, the heartbreak of losing someone dear, and the determination to keep one's spirit alive in the face of crushing sorrow. Her songs, filled with soaring high notes and heartfelt lyrics, have offered solace to countless listeners who needed an anthem for their own pain. Whether you listened to My Heart Will Go On during a moment of deep personal loss or found encouragement in a track like That's the Way It Is, chances are her music reached into your heart and reminded you that you are not alone. Celine Dion's journey is continuing to unfold. She has children who adore her and who have grown up alongside her massive career, learning firsthand the power of perseverance and the importance of staying close as a family. She has fans eagerly awaiting her next move, whether that's a new album, a return to the stage, or a heartfelt update about her health. And she has a story that, even in its darkest chapters, shines with a radiant kind of hope. When she speaks about her future, it is with a mixture of realism, acknowledging that the road ahead may be filled with obstacles, and optimism, believing that each day brings with it the possibility of renewal and breakthroughs. Somewhere in her home, a vocal exercise may be underway, a small step toward reconditioning her muscles to meet the demands of singing. Perhaps she's seated at a piano, gently pressing the keys as she hums along, feeling out the new limits and possibilities of her body. Perhaps she's taking a moment to look at a photograph of Renee, remembering how he placed everything on the line for a young girl with a giant voice, thankful for the spark of belief that set her entire life in motion. The headlines might keep saying it, Celine Dion should be dead by now, but that headline, jolting as it is, overlooks the central truth of her existence, that she has consistently defied every prediction about her downfall. She wasn't broken by media criticisms, by controversies over her personal life, by the grueling demands of an international spotlight, by the heartbreak of her husband's passing, or by the rare neurological illness that disrupted her career. Instead, she has shown the world that survival isn't just about hanging on by a thread. It's about finding ways to thrive despite all the odds. It's about harnessing the power of love, a message she's always championed in her music, to battle against despair. And it's about sharing that message with anyone who will listen, because if Celine has one lasting legacy, it's that her voice isn't just her own. It's an instrument through which countless fans have found hope, comfort, and courage. That's why you need to watch her story unfold until the very end. Because somewhere in that story, amid the love, the grief, the triumphs, and the setbacks, is a piece of wisdom we can all carry into our own lives. It might come in the form of a lyric that suddenly makes you feel understood. It might be in her unwavering devotion to her children, reminding you that family is worth every sacrifice. It might be in the tearful moment she first revealed her diagnosis, showing that vulnerability can be a bridge to deeper connection. Or it might be in the memory of a young girl singing in a small piano bar, dreaming of a future that was never guaranteed. Yes, Celine Dion's life has been filled with moments that could have ended it all. But here she stands, an icon not merely of music, but of resilience, love, and the indomitable human spirit. And that, above all else, is the reason her story matters so much to so many. She has touched hearts on every continent, transcended language barriers, and shown that even the greatest challenges can be met with unwavering grace. For those who have loved her from the start, who discovered her in a moment of personal crisis, or who simply appreciate the raw beauty of her voice, her presence is a beacon of hope. So the next time you find yourself at a crossroads, believing that life's challenges might be too great to bear, remember Celine Dion. Remember a woman who, as a child, serenaded locals in her parents' humble piano bar, who defied every odds stacked against her, who opened her heart to a man many years her senior, who overcame heartbreak after heartbreak, and who now faces a rare illness that threatens to rob her of her greatest gift. Yet she stands, unwavering, with a voice that, even if it trembles at times, still resonates with unfiltered passion. This is the spirit that has carried her through every season of her life. This is the spirit that continues to inspire millions. And this is the spirit that proves that, no matter how many times the world proclaims that someone should be finished, there's always a chance for a new beginning. For more of the latest news, check out this video.